There we go.
He breaks down plays better than anyone.
I mean, this is like Shark Week now. And you know what Baker Mayfield is? He's chum. Look at these sharks. You think you're getting away from those 4 angry sharks? It's Shark Week. It's time to eat. Make the read urgency. That's the name of the game right here. Urgency. Now, on it. He's on it. Touchdown. Beautiful throw.
He's our 95.7 The Game NFL Insider, Brian Baldinger.
Former NFL pro, Cowboys, Eagles. Had a look. Got to visit the 49ers. I thought he was going to make that Niners squad when they won the Super Bowl. But Brian Baldinger, the smartest man in football. And I thought we were going to get into his great breakdowns of Malik Willis, the Miami Dolphins. Baldinger's going, he's spotlighting fans wearing the Mercury Morris jersey, saying, Dolphin fans need something to celebrate. They're still rocking Mercury Morris jerseys.
I had Mike McDaniel questions all written up for today. But Jimmy G.
And you know what? and Baldy, we just got to know. We'll start this conversation. And good morning to you, Baldy. Thanks for joining us as always. We love you. Where were you when you got the alert that Jimmy Garoppolo was restructuring his contract to stick around with the San Francisco 49ers?
Well, good morning, guys. Bonta. So I was in Los Angeles, and we were kind of getting ready for a Total Access show. Me and Bucky Brooks and Michael Yam, we were on yesterday, and we were actually just talking about some Brady stuff and some Baker Mayfield, questions and whatnot. And all of a sudden, this news broke, and it became story number one for us. And it was really, I had just gotten off the phone with Sean Salisbury, and we had just done a podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was the story before the story broke, was what would I do? And I was like, so here was my take, Bonta. And I said, and I've been saying this all along, like he's got more value to the 49ers than anybody else. It's unfortunate that he had the surgery in mid-March, and his shoulder wasn't really healed until July. And so he really wasn't on anybody's radar because nobody was going to trade for a guy that they weren't sure if they was healthy, especially on a throwing shoulder. And so then it's a question of money. And it really costs more money just to release him than it does to keep him. And then you look at, well, do you really, if something does happen to Trey Lance, and you never know in this business, but are you really comfortable if they have to go with Nate Sudfeld? And I think Nate Sudfeld is a journeyman, and I think he's got one start in the league. And if you could keep Jimmy at a reduced rate, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, when you take that amount of money off, it makes you feel pretty good about the deal. One talking point I've heard is just how he hasn't really practiced with the team, but he also wasn't given a playbook. And I want to focus on the playbook. I don't have an opinion on this one way or another, so I want to learn from you here, Baldy. Like, can't he just pick up that playbook as soon as it's been given to him? It feels like a lot of people are saying, well, he's never practiced with the team. He's not been given a playbook. I don't know if they should keep him as a backup. I mean, does the playbook thing really matter? He's been with the team for over 4.5 years.
2017, yeah.
I don't think the playbook has changed much.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any problem for him digesting it. Typically, guys that have been there 5 years, you got to get a little bored by the playbook, to be honest with you.
Right.
I mean, it's all about the game plan. What are you doing this week? What are you doing? And it's all about the Chicago Bears right now, right? So I'll bet that Jimmy has already been looking at the Chicago Bears and, some of the new guys, Brisker, and, some of the new guys that they have drafted and where they're playing. I'm sure he's already kind of taken a look. Because Matt Eberflus has a new defense, and I bet he's already looked at some of the preseason games. I mean, my guess as a guy that was looking at this as an opportunity or a possibility, since he really wasn't getting any phone calls from anywhere, and even though that they put him on the market, they're really, in this game of musical chairs of quarterbacks this offseason, he was the one guy left standing. And so there really wasn't a landing spot for him.
Yeah.
And so I don't think the playbook is any kind of an issue.
Brian Baldinger, NFL Network, our 95.7 The Game Insider, Compass Media Networks. He's getting ready for Mississippi State and Memphis Saturday down in Starkville, Mississippi. Nice. A lot of cowbells, Baldy. A lot of cowbells. Get those earplugs.
That's right.
He's breaking down the 49ers.
Stark Vegas, man. I'm ready for it.
Stark Vegas. Yeah, no, you're made for Stark Vegas. No doubt about that. You're built for it. We'll get to the rest of the 53-man roster in just a second, but more on Jimmy Garoppolo. A lot of people are thinking, hey, and I agree with you, Baldy. I think it's more of an indictment on Brock Purdy and Nate Sudfeld. I was saying it last Friday. These guys aren't ready. These guys just aren't ready. If Trey goes down, but how does Trey handle the situation now? Because I do believe he's mentally strong, but we know how this game works, Baldy. if they struggle, if they stumble, every incompletion, every interception, fumble, sack, the drama's going to intensify, and the cameras are going to pan to number 10, Jimmy Garoppolo. And people are going to say, well, the 49ers were 31-14 under Jimmy. They were 31-14. You got a Super Bowl caliber quarterback there backing him up. How does Trey handle the situation? What would you do if you're a teammate of Trey Lance's? What would you tell him?
Well, I'll give you an example. I mean, I don't know how Trey's going to handle it. None of us do.
Yeah.
Be honest with you. I mean, we got to wait and find out. But, in Philadelphia, Carson Wentz was the starter, had just gotten a huge contract, second contract, and they drafted Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. And he never was good with it, ever. And when Jalen Hurts went in there, I mean, Carson Wentz went in the tank. Now, I don't think that that's going to happen with Trey Lance. Because Trey Lance, but you just don't know how it's going to happen. I'm sure that Kyle and Lynch and the whole group, Jed York, has sat Trey Lance down and said, we're going to do this. I'm sure they made the phone call. We're going to do this. You're our starter. You're getting all the number one reps. We're getting you ready for the Chicago Bears. I'm sure they have said all of that stuff. But to your point, Bonta, like this thing now has a wholly different dimension if Jimmy's there. And if he does struggle for any period of time, forget about just one game, just if he struggles for a quarter or a half. If you lose, look, in this business, if you lose 2 games in a row, the sky is falling. I don't care what your team is, who your quarterback is. The Rams didn't win a game for a month last year. And you would have thought there's no way that they're going to win a Super Bowl. And one of those losses in that month was to the 49ers, and it was ugly. I mean, they got whipped by the 49ers.
Yep.
So that's just the reality of it right now. We'll find out how mentally strong he is and how tough he is, because there's no way to really predict it. It's the number one question out there, Bonta, what you just asked.
Yep.
Yeah, Baldy, is there any downside to this move at all? I mean, maybe just like you were answering there, is that the downside? The possibility of Trey losing 2 or more games and then, Kyle Shanahan possibly having to make the switch? Because as I'm looking at this deal and seeing Brock Purdy and Nate Sudfeld and understanding those guys would not be good backups, to me, it's hard to find a downside to this move, and especially with the pay cut as well.
I think that's the downside. The downside is, is there going to be a quick hook? I mean, I don't know if Kyle knows that answer.
Right.
I mean, he'll use the eye test. Can he run the offense? Can he execute it? I mean, the fact that we're even asking those questions is why Jimmy is probably signed.
Right.
If we were completely certain, if everybody was totally certain that Trey can handle this, this next phase of his career and be the next 49 quarterback for the next decade, if we were completely clear about it, then they probably wouldn't even do this deal. But it really makes sense right now. It just does. I called it yesterday. It's just an expensive insurance policy. Not as expensive as it once was, but with the reduction, it's an insurance policy right now.
No doubt about that. Brian Baldinger. Baldy's doing so much work. NFL Network, Odyssey Insider, 95.7 Game Insider. But Baldy is Sean Salisbury, our other partner here in 95.7 Game Insider. They did a season preview for the 49ers that will debut on YouTube later today. You don't want to miss that.
Nice.
If you football geeks, this is going to be good stuff. It's about an hour long, so we're going to watch that. That's coming out a little bit later today. Go ahead, Baldy.
Let me just say one thing, Bonta. So, we were getting ready to do this podcast yesterday.
Yeah.
And we said, well, we don't know what's going to happen with Jimmy Garoppolo. Mm-hmm. So let's just do 5 minutes on Jimmy G, and then we'll kind of power down, then we'll power back up.
Right.
And then you could kind of plug that in one way or the other.
Right.
No, and literally, as soon as we finished this podcast, and we were on for about an hour, as soon as we finished, the news broke within 15 minutes. It was the timing, it was so serendipitous to throw out, a San Francisco word.
Right.
That it was kind of shocking.
Baldy, I was in the hot tub after working out. Now, I'm out of shape, and I'm trying to get ready for hoop season and football. I burned over 1,000 calories, Baldy. I felt like a champ, right? And so I get to my phone. I'm getting out the jacuzzi. I'm about to go to the pool. And I go to my phone, and my boy Joe Shasky's on vacation. He's joining us in about 21 minutes from the Russian River on vacation. I get all these alerts. We do an IG Live, and I'm in the hot tub. He's chopping up garlic and barbecuing, and we're thinking, what the heck is going on here? Blew through my nap, got a headache, everything else. It was unbelievable here, but no matter who plays quarterback for the 49ers, who the hell's going to block for, whether it's Jimmy G or Trey Lance? Because this offensive line right now, I have my concerns. The interior line, Mike McGlinchey when he comes back. They got some work to do here. Aaron Banks, Burford, Brindle. How do you assess the offensive line here, Baldy?
Well, it doesn't look like a line that we've watched over the last 3 or 4 years right now. Now, Jalen Moore, I thought at one point he might have a chance, to be a starter. He played well a couple years ago when Joe was down. He doesn't look like that player now. I don't know how much you can count on him or Colton McKivitz right now. Burford's a rookie, so you got to allow rookies to grow.
Right.
Aaron Banks, is in there right now. He didn't play last year, basically. So you got 3 new guys, Jake Brendel at center. I mean, you got 3 new interior guys, not to mention that McGlinchey struggled before he was hurt. So, Trent can't block everybody.
Right.
It can't be just Trent.
Right.
So this thing might take a while. We really don't know. You got to put them up against the Bears and let them go to work. They didn't get enough work in the preseason, in my mind,
right,
to really come together and to really kind of get a feel for it. There's a couple good runs, but this thing I think is going to take a little bit of time, and it remains to be seen whether they've got the right pieces there or not. We don't know. I mean, you got two young draft picks in there in Burford and Banks, and one thing I knew about Laken Tomlinson, I knew you're never going to hear his name once during an entire game, ever. 85 straight starts, next to Joe and next to Trent. He was a rock, and now he's with the Jets. So that guy, he never got his name called because he never got a penalty. He was just as consistent as possible, and that's what you want. And so those are big shoes to fill right now.
You kind of stole my thunder there, Baldy, because with the Jimmy Garoppolo move here, restructuring his contract, a lot of fans are saying, well, damn, they could have kept Laken Tomlinson, maybe used a franchise tag on Laken Tomlinson, and especially with Alex Mack retiring so late into the summer, that's a move that nobody really talks about. Laken Tomlinson moving on, you could have at least solidified the left side of the line, and then the right side, you kind of patchwork it there with Burford, McKivitz, Brendel, or McGlinchey.
Well, that's pretty much hindsight, though, because I think, when you draft Aaron Banks, you're basically saying we're not going to give Laken Tomlinson the next contract.
That's a good point.
We've gotten 5 years out of him. He started every game. We can't ask for anything more from a guy that was basically a reject from Detroit. I mean, they found gold in Detroit's, trash right there. Not trash and Laken.
Yeah, no doubt.
The Lions gave up on him. And so that's what you do. You pluck good players from bad organizations. And that's what the Niners did. They did their homework, and he was great. But they said, we spent a high pick on Aaron Banks, a second-round pick. Notre Dame has been putting out offensive linemen for a decade that play at a high level in this business. So maybe he's the next one. They may have seen enough from Aaron Banks to say we're comfortable with this move.
Getting back to Jimmy G, Baldy. So when we saw the pay cut, we also saw that this makes it easier for a possible trade because another team would be willing to pay that base salary of just $6.5 million. Do you see any scenario in which a trade takes place by the November 1st deadline? Because to me, I just don't see a reason for it if you feel like it's a playoff team and he's going to be the backup.
Well, I don't right now, but injuries are going to play a factor in that deal. And you could just pick a team. If something happened to Tua, would the 49ers and Mike McDaniel be interested in Jimmy G? They look like they're a playoff roster. If something would happen, what are they going to do? And so you could go around the league and you could go, what if? But that's kind of the scenario right now. But I mean, that would be one.
Yeah.
If something would happen to Tua, I could see Mike McDaniel picking up the phone and calling Kyle and going, hey, how bad do you guys want him? Because we'll plug him in here right now. He knows pretty much our offense. We could plug and play.
Right.
So that's the scenario right now.
Gotcha.
Trey Sermon, what do you think happens to him before cutdown day at 1 p.m., Baldy, West Coast time? Trey Sermon has been on the hot seat here. They have a slew of running backs. Jeff Wilson Jr., of course, TDP, the young man out of LSU. Elijah Mitchell looks healthy. He's back on the practice field. Will Trey Sermon be the odd man out, in your opinion, Baldy?
There's options. You could put him on the practice squad. Somebody could pluck him off the practice squad. You got options right there.
Right.
I think with the injury history right there of, some of those guys, you better keep a deep roster of running backs, and especially the way they went through them last year. I don't know. Like, some teams are comfortable keeping 3 running backs on your 53. Like, I don't think the 49ers are comfortable doing that, with what Jeff Wilson has had happen. And so I think Sermon will probably stick around. But they may try to clear waivers with him and see, if somebody takes him and bring him back. I mean, all those kind of things could happen after 4 o'clock today.
No doubt. And Mason Kidd ran hard, but hey, there's a lot of drama out here. We had no clue that we'd be talking about Jimmy Garoppolo for possibly another 6 months, but here we are at their offseason. Now, before we let you go, how would you assess the handling of this situation by John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers brass? Because, Baldy, I've been watching the NFL for a long time. I know you've been watching it for twice as long. You played in the league. I can't recall a situation like this lasting this long. It's just so bizarre to me. I can't wrap my head around it. How do you think they handled this situation, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, Baldy?
Well, I think they have to consider all the moving parts here, Bonta. I mean, you have surgery in mid-March. Okay, there's a quarterback carousel that spun this year like we've never seen before. There's only so many landing spots. And then by the time Jimmy was healthy, sometime around mid-July or right before, it started training camp, all the spots have been filled. Baker Mayfield got signed on July 6th. If Jimmy had had his surgery in January and was healthy in May, I don't think Jimmy G would be here. So you had to wait until he got healthy. Yeah. And then by that point, like Seattle, still makes sense to me, especially, the way that Drew Lock played the other day against Dallas. Yeah. It looked like he played himself, not out of just a potential starting job, played himself like out of the league as bad as he was. Yeah. So, would Seattle be interested in Jimmy G, if he was healthy? I think they might have been. So I can't really indict John or Kyle on this deal because, they really couldn't do anything until he got cleared.
Yeah, this is wild. Wild stuff, and we'll be talking to you all season long.
Insane. Every
single Tuesday at 7:30. Baldy, we always appreciate the time. And do not forget, Baldy, it's Sean Salisbury.
Yes.
Season preview for the 49ers. It'll debut on YouTube later today, and it's about an hour long. They break down everything with the 49ers. You don't want to miss this stuff. Our 95.7 The Game Insider NFL Network. He's going to Stark Vegas Saturday. Who lives a better life than Brian Baldinger? I'm still looking for that person. Baldy, you're the best, man.
I'm chasing cowbells and great barbecue in Mississippi this weekend.
There's no doubt about that, Baldy. We'll talk to you next week, brother.
Okay, take care, guys.
All right, Baldy.